All right, this is SSLFamilyDad, and today we're going to talk all about the path to self-reliance. So this will start a series that I'm going to do answering probably one of my most commonly asked questions throughout the years, and that is, how do you go from, how do I get from living in the city or living in a subdivision or, living on a small piece of property or in an apartment or something like that, how do I get from there to a place where I can be self-sustainable, self-reliant, or whatever you want to call it, whether you want to live off-grid, whether you want to start a small farm, whether you want to start a small homestead somewhere and provide more for yourself. Hopefully I can give some tips and kind of the things that I wish I would have done and some of the things that we did do that worked well to get us here to where we are today. We haven't arrived. We're not at our final destination either, but we're along the path much further than where we were 5 or 6 years ago, and it took quite a bit of work and planning and some mistakes and failures along the way. So starting at the very beginning, let's say you're just starting to think of, you're just starting to get that itch, you're just starting to maybe you're getting closer in your faith, closer to God, and you feel God pulling you out of where you're at right now. Maybe you've just decided you want to live a more simple life, and you want to grow your own food, and you want to live a less expensive or a consumer-based life, and you'd like to get out onto a piece of land and provide for yourself, being more self-reliant. So the very beginning, I'm going to give you 3 things that you should start focusing on now that will help you get prepared to get to the point where you can be on your path to self-reliance, we'll call it. Number 1, no matter where you're living, no matter if you're in an apartment, a subdivision, a city, or whether you've already moved out onto your place that you plan to homestead or be off-grid on or whatever, the first thing that you can do is start now. There's nothing stopping you from learning to start seeds indoors, grow on a patio, grow on a balcony, grow in your subdivision, start building raised beds, start transforming your yard or your current landscaping, flower beds, whatever, into places where you can grow edible foods. Start gardening and growing your own food right now. We went from about a half an acre, maybe 3/4 of an acre at a subdivision to 25 acres where we're at now. We grew a whole heck of a lot of food in that half an acre that we had there. Fruit trees, raised bed gardens, and just taking up every bit of space that we possibly could. We also started with chickens, and I would highly recommend, if you can get chickens in your city lot or wherever you are, chickens are a great place to start learning to care for animals and integrating that livestock into your sustainable kind of food operation. Chickens are a great place to start. They're going to produce eggs for you. They require very little care. They're very easy to care for. We have plans, free plans on our website. I'll put a link in the description, or there'll be a video series link here too, on how you can actually build a really simple chicken coop that will house your about 6 to 8 chickens, and that is a great place to start. Starting those things back on our own small scale helped us learn so much before we got out to start to scale things up and do things bigger. We learned about chicken breeds, we learned about raising chickens, we learned about what they eat, we learned about how to integrate them into our food operation, them eating food scraps, turning those into eggs for us, them eating the garden scraps, them using them to scratch up and clear out bugs and other things in our garden areas. And so chickens are a great place to start. So the number 1 thing you can do right now is start. Even if you're in an apartment, you can do container gardening, you can do indoor gardening with grow lights. I've built a couple very inexpensive grow shelves and other things like that you can use to grow food year round, herbs and other small like lettuces and things like that. So start now. The number 1 thing you can do is just start doing the things that you want to do later now. Number 2 is learning to live with much less. Even if you think you're living with very little right now. If you're younger, you're just starting, you maybe have a lower income job or a starter job, or you're in college or something like that, learn to live on the bare necessities, because part of being self-reliant is really 2 things. It's making some income off of your land so that you can supply yourself with needed things, but it's also reducing your consumption of everything so that you don't need very much income. So it's those 2 things that allow you to really be self-reliant. We're not 100% there ourselves. It takes time to put systems in place, and you need to prepare yourself financially for that. So it's a combination of reducing the consumption and reducing your expenses, cutting everything in your life that you possibly can out that costs you money, spending more time at home, spending more time doing the things that are going to prepare you for the future life that you want, and saving money. saving money comes in a lot of different forms. In our case, at our old home, we saved money by really investing in the home that we were going to sell. That was, we did renovations, we did painting projects, we did little things that would help improve the value of our home. So when we went to sell, we would have that money available to put it towards our future life here. You can, of course, save in cash and save in other ways. So if you own a home, invest in that home is a great way to actually make the most of the money that you have and the time that you have by using your own skills to improve that home and then get more value from that when you sell it. If you live in an apartment or something like that, save that money in cash. Take that money and set it aside. If you're married and you're both working, try to live on one income. See if you can take one of the person's income from your family and completely save that and set it aside and live on just one of your incomes. Because once you start to get into a self-reliant lifestyle, you're going to find, especially if married and have a family, that having one person at home all the time, especially to start, if not both of you at home all the time, is going to be extremely important. All the things that you want to do to provide for yourself and cook and prepare and save and plant and garden and care for animals and care for your property and improve things, it's going to require as much time from one or both of you at home as possible, especially if you have kids. Number 3, the one thing that helped us immensely, and this is not a self-promotion, doing research and spending a lot of time with your husband or your wife or your kids or just yourself, if that's what it is, doing research. YouTube, huge resource. There are so many people that have taken this journey in the last 5 to 10 years of self-reliance. There's so many people have gone off grid and tried to, make it with just being able to sustain themselves. There's so many great people to follow and look at what they've done. There's so many different ways to go about this. The way I'm doing it is not necessarily the right way. There are lots of different ways. So do a lot of research. Use, maybe substitute your TV time or your entertainment time, or you're going out to the movies time, or you're going out to dinner time with time on YouTube as a family, time on a lot of the homesteader farming channels, time researching. There's lots of free courses and free classes available at local universities. I know Michigan State University here in Michigan, they have beginning farmers courses that, I think they cost like $30. They're webinars. You can do them right online. There's so many ways to learn about gardening, get subscribe to like magazines and other things, or get online and just read articles, use websites. Spend as much time as you can researching and planning exactly what you want to do. What I want to do here and the way I want to run this farm and the way I want to sustain ourselves off of this 25 acres might be very different from what you want to do. You may want to focus in on 1 or 2 or 3 different things. Maybe it's growing an orchard, maybe it's farming the land and doing some type of a cash crop, or maybe it's a whole organic farm and you want to focus on that. Maybe it's maple syrup. Maybe it's livestock. Maybe it's raising and selling animals. Maybe it's meat processing. Maybe it's chickens. Maybe it's eggs. There's so many different ways to go about making money and using the land to your advantage to be self-reliant. Plan that out. What works in your state? It's good to follow homesteaders and YouTubers or farmers or whatever that are in your area. What we do here is very different from what you would do in California. It's very different from what you might do in Arizona. It's very different from what you might do in the mountains or in Canada or in the subtropics somewhere in Australia. Things are very different. A lot of things are very, very similar, but it's good to follow some people that are in your local area. So look around for them and touch base with them, ask them questions, see if you can go out to their farm and check things out, learn from them. That's the best advice I can give, is to just prepare yourself mentally and plan ahead at what you want to do. So hopefully you guys found some of that information useful. The top 3 ways, in my opinion, to get started in being self-reliant. It starts before you even set your eyes on a piece of property. It starts before you even get ready to sell your home and move. This is the very, very first step. We did these 3 things for about 3 years, 2 to 3 years, before we actually took the leap and moved off of our property and our subdivision out to this land. It took a lot of time and a lot of research and a lot of growing and a lot of failing and learning and succeeding too on what works and how things work and what worked for us the best. So hopefully you guys found that informational. I will have more things coming out. I know a lot of you asked the question, how do you provide money for yourself? Well, at the end of the year, part of this series, I'm going to do a recap. on 2018, what worked for us, what did we make money on, what did we maybe lose money on, and what did we just do kind of okay on. And so I'm going to go through some of the financials, give you guys some specifics on what kind of worked best for us over, as far as actually making money, because it's important to be able to do that, obviously. So if you have already started this journey and you're following along with the SSL Family Dad channel, maybe you're a homesteader or farmer or prepper or whatever you have, throw your comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. What are the top 3 things that you think somebody should focus on when they're getting ready, before they take the jump, but when they're getting ready to jump into this self-reliant lifestyle? So hopefully you guys found that informational. I'd love to get a thumbs up on the video. Share the video with friends and family if you know somebody interested in this kind of thing, or they're getting ready, or they're planning to take that leap and into self-sufficiency or sustainability or whatever it might be called to them. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.